Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive.
Hello.
Today, we've got this interesting collection of sources in front of us. They're all articles from CoinMarketCap dated May 29, 2025.
Right, it's like a snapshot from a single day.
Yeah,
But what's interesting is how varied it is, gives you a real sense of the different things happening in crypto right then.
exactly. And our goal here, our mission for this deep dive, is basically to sift through this stack, get beyond just the headlines. We want to figure out what these different news items, and they range from big institutional stuff to specific coin updates, what they tell you collectively about the market's pulse right now.
Yeah, we'll connect the dots, look at the big money moves, official comments, what companies are doing, and even zoom in on a few specific assets, see what kind of picture emerges.
Yeah, let's dive in then. First thing that really jumps out from these sources is, frankly, massive number tied to institutional investment.
Ah, you must mean the BlackRock IBIT inflows. The sources mentioned $4.2 billion.
$4.2 billion just flowing into one Bitcoin ETF. I mean, that's staggering. What does a number like that, reported maybe over a short window, really tell us? It's more than just money moved, right?
Oh, absolutely. A figure that large, it's about the conviction behind it. It's not just, a trickle. It suggests pretty significant active decisions by some very large players.
Active decisions. Oh.
Yeah, and when you see billions going into a regulated product like an ETF, where people trade shares representing Bitcoin, it's a powerful sign of serious, sustained demand from that whole institutional side of things.
Right, so the scale matters,
Yeah.
and who is doing the investing matters.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of influential players, these articles also flag a comment from, a very high-level official source.
Yes, that's the quote from the U.S. Vice President speaking down in Austin, Texas.
And the specific line reported is, crypto and digital assets, especially Bitcoin, have become part of the mainstream economy and are here to stay. Pretty direct.
Very direct. And when you hear something like that from that level of government, the article suggests it's more than just an off-the-cuff remark.
What's the interpretation then?
It signals a real shift, according to the source, in how crypto is being viewed officially. It's an acknowledgement that this isn't some niche fringe thing anymore. It's becoming integrated.
Integrated into the broader economy.
Exactly. And you have to think, what could that kind of public statement mean down the line? For policy talks, for regulation, for just general public acceptance, it's potentially quite significant.
Yeah, definitely a different tone than we might have heard, say, a few years back. Okay, so that's the macro view. Let's shift gears a bit. One of these articles gets into a specific company's strategy, Metaplanet. They did something quite interesting.
Ah, yes, the bond issuance. They reportedly put out $21 million in bonds. Zero interest bonds, which is notable in itself.
Zero interest, wow. And the article is clear. The stated reason was specifically to raise funds to buy Bitcoin.
And it also mentions that Evo funds snapped them all up, fully subscribed.
So what's the significance of a move like that? Using bonds, not just profits, to buy Bitcoin.
It's quite a clever strategic play, isn't it? Issuing debt, particularly zero interest debt, just to acquire Bitcoin. It shows a very deliberate, focused commitment to increasing their Bitcoin holdings in their corporate treasury.
A dedicated funding channel.
Precisely. The source frames it as, strengthening their position in Bitcoin, but doing it through this specific financial engineering rather than just using operating cash or selling equity. It's another sign of companies getting creative to gain that exposure.
Okay, so we're seeing these threads. Huge ETF inflows, high-level political nods, and now companies using, bespoke financial tools just to stack sats on their balance sheet. Interesting mix. Let's drill down now into some specific assets and platforms mentioned in the sources.
Okay, well, there's a mention of Ripple's stablecoin, RLUSD.
Right, and what's happening with it?
It's been listed on Euler Finance. The stated goal, according to the article, is pretty straightforward, just to give people more options for lending and borrowing on that platform.
So expanding its reach within DeFi. Makes sense.
Yeah, growing its utility, its footprint in that ecosystem.
Got it. Another asset that comes up is Kaspa, K-A-A-S. One piece highlights a technical point about its supply.
That's right. It mentions the Kaspa supply lockup getting close to 70%.
Okay, 70% locked up. For someone maybe holding KAS or watching it, what does the article suggest that actually means? What's the implication?
Well, the interesting angle the source takes is how it interprets that lockup. They're suggesting it's a sign of steady accumulation.
Not just hype.
Exactly. Less about short-term buzz and more about holders deliberately holding on, accumulating steadily. and, basic supply and demand when a huge chunk of the supply isn't really available to be sold easily.
It reduces selling pressure.
Right. The article frames it as building a stronger foundation for the asset's value over the long term rather than just quick price spikes.
Okay, that provides some context for that metric. The sources also touch on XRP.
Yeah.
There seems to be some analyst chatter mentioned.
Yeah, there's a reference to some analysts predicting, well, pretty massive gains for XRP, but what the article adds is a connection between those predictions and a noticeable increase in
Whale activity.
whale activity, yeah, specifically on Binance. So large holders potentially making moves that align with these bullish forecasts.
Interesting. So the source is connecting analyst sentiment with actual observable market movements by big players. A dynamic worth watching, perhaps.
Seems to be the point they're making.
And then finally, there's quite a bit of mention across several of these articles about BlackRock. What's the story there, based on these sources?
Well, the main thing reported is the pre-sale progress. The figure mentioned is reaching $273 million.
Okay, that's a significant pre-sale number.
And they specifically highlight rapid growth. $10 million of that apparently came in just the last 7 days leading up to the article's publication date.
Wow. So how are the sources framing that? What's the potential or the momentum they're describing?
One article uses the term explosive ROI potential. More generally, they talk about it showing strong signs of adoption, getting developer interest, and building momentum with buyers.
Right.
There's even a comparison made in one piece saying its current growth trajectory is outpacing SUI and SOL. Although it's important, another source does confirm SUI and SOL are also seeing gains.
Okay, so context is key there. But the focus seems to be on BlackRock's rapid pre-sale phase and what that might imply for its future.
Yeah, that seems to be the narrative presented in these specific pieces.
All right, so let's recap where we've been. We've seen billions flowing into institutions via ETFs, a top U.S. official basically saying crypto is mainstream.
Companies inventing new ways to add Bitcoin to their books.
A stablecoin pushing into new DeFi territory, another coin showing signs of strong holder accumulation.
Analyst calls on XRP tied to whale moves, and a new project reporting really fast pre-sale growth. It's quite a mix from just one day's news digest.
It really is. It paints a picture of a market that's, well, it's firing on multiple cylinders, isn't it?
Absolutely. You've got the signals of integration with traditional finance, growing official recognition, side by side with ongoing innovation, ecosystem building, and yes, speculative interest across a whole range of different projects.
It feels like different stages of maturity happening all at once.
That's a good way to put it. These articles together, they suggest the crypto space isn't just about one single story right now. It's this complex blend of the institutional world meeting the political landscape, intersecting with tech development and market dynamics.
Okay, well, that brings us towards the end of this particular deep dive, looking through this May 29th stack from CoinMarketCap.
Yeah, we pulled out those key threads, the big institutional money, the high-level government nod, those unique corporate Bitcoin plays, and then the diverse project-level stuff showing growth, utility, and accumulation.
So maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on after hearing all this.
Yeah.
When you see this kind of mix, institutional billions, official acceptance, corporate strategies, specific project milestones all happening concurrently, reported on the same day, what does that collective picture suggest to you about where crypto is right now? Is it signaling a new phase of maturity, wider acceptance? Or maybe it just highlights the sheer diversity of opportunity and risk still present in the space?
Something to think about. Where is the momentum really building? What does this convergence mean for the next year or two?
Definitely food for thought. We'll leave it there for this deep dive. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, everyone.